right. So this was via email. That's right. Our first ever, maybe, email question.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if you'd like to email a question, frontseatquestions@gmail.com is where you should go. Email us some questions. We like them. Question number 1. I'm in Christchurch, which is in south of New Zealand, and I've just turned 18, looking at what to do next. I was just wondering if you had any advice as a professional on what you think the best way to learn and grow as a developer is. I'm looking at media design school in Auckland, for example, but many pros just say go out and make games solo and not to worry about qualifications, etc. Any advice would be great. I already make games on my own. I'm more of a 3D modeling and texturing guy, but I can use blueprints in UE4, Unreal Engine 4, for example, to produce prototypes. I love games and I just wanted some help. Thanks, E. Well,
Welly, what my passage was kind of went to a place called Nat Cole, which I think is called UB now.
Nat Cole,
And
National...
No, it
Nope.
doesn't stand for anything. It was just a made-up word.
Really?
Really? I always thought that stood for
That's
something.
weird.
Well, if it does, I don't know what
Okay.
it stands for.
I thought it was
Might stand for
something
something.
college, right? Cole, like college.
Yeah. Or National.
National.
Anyway, I went there.
Yep.
Garbage, rubbish.
Ooh.
It was the tutors weren't great, but this was kind of some time ago, so
Yeah.
like 3D was starting to be a little more well known and more people had experience with it. Anyway, it wasn't great at that time, and I thought I had a good enough skill set that I could go off and then make video games. I was completely wrong.
Yep.
And so I applied for the game development course at Media Design School. And well, because I'd heard so much about it, and it was great. It was probably like the best decision I'd made.
Now, was it because of what you learned there, or did the actual qualification help you get jobs?
The qualification wasn't great. It was more the people in my class were very motivated, and some of that rubs off on you.
Sure.
Also, at the time, Media Design School had a relationship with a lot of industry people, and so they kind of wave that around a bit, which is sort of how I got my job at Grinding Game. Media Design School, I think it's just gotten better over the years as well.
It's pretty incredible now.
Like Blake went there as well. And
a lot of our employees went there. So you would recommend?
I would,
potentially
but
looking at Media
also
Design School.
I would recommend Media Design School, because like you'll learn techniques, and that environment is really good for like people learning.
You'll learn like working as a team, and things like that. You'll also make like industry connections. You know, like a lot of the people that you and me went to Media Design School around that same time are now all in the industry, and you know they're all now network connections. You know.
Yep. But also, if you're a really motivated person, because I've met these people as well, like if you are really like driven, that's probably the best environment for you, and you should just plow ahead. Like there's nothing stopping you nowadays with the internet, like especially with Steam doing what it's doing. Like it's just all community driven now. I think, you know, advice is everywhere. Like information's there. Like you could, if you're motivated, you could go that way. And I don't see, like if you are a really skilled artist, you have no problem finding a job anywhere.
Right. But here's my question: have either of you been in a hiring position before?
No. But I'd like to think I've influenced Eric with a couple of hires.
What when you were like when Eric was asking for your input, or when Blake was looking at something, what exactly were you looking for? Were you looking at where they studied, or were you looking at their actual work?
Yeah, it's when you're an artist, it's all about that show
Yeah,
reel.
it's all work, and I mean maybe secondary is like where they studied, but if they show that they can do the work and they can work and they can work in the environment that they're going to need to, then wherever they study doesn't really matter.
Sure. So if an artist is exceptionally good, but they have no qualifications whatsoever, and then there's
does not matter.
It doesn't
there's
matter
an artist
at all.
who's pretty good but has qualifications.
Now, the better artist will always win.
Cool. I think.
Which is again why Media Design School is kind of cool, because you have some people. It's like an internationally recognized place to come study and work on 3D for, production houses or video games.
Mm-hmm.
But it also gives you time for you to just be in that environment and focus on producing a really good show reel. And you're picking up techniques along the way as well.
I mean, it's also a great place to just make mistakes,
Yeah.
Because it's a safe,
you're moving on.
Yeah,
you're constantly
it's a safe
moving.
place to, make foolish mistakes like over scoping your projects or something like that. Like doing that if you're trying to make a business, might be really, really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you might not know deadlines, but when you have 9 weeks to work on your reel, and you just see all the students around you just like crumble as they're putting 20-hour days on this thing. You're just like, all right, okay.
What's the biggest thing you sort of learned from media design school, like besides the actual 3D itself? Like for me, it definitely is like scoping projects and things like that, and not being afraid to say, I don't think I've got enough time to do something,
Yeah, I'm at two minds about that because I love how towards the end of the course you kind of how we did it. We sort of had a presentation and all the tutors were sitting around, and you would make a presentation to all your classmates and the tutors, and you'd be like, all right, this is what I want to work on.
Oh, okay.
This is what I've done. I'm going to be working, like, this is my time frame.
Yep.
This is what I'm going to do. And then they kind of green or red light it.
Okay.
Was it like that for you?
I don't remember it being like that. No, I don't remember pitching. I mean, we must have, but I don't think there was like a red or green light thing. It was just like, this is what we want to do.
Well, it was sort of like when a guy stood up there and he was like, mine's going to have 30 characters. Cool. I'm going to have like 5
fully
environments.
animated.
It's going to be a 5-minute animated short feature. The tutors would just be like, no.
Yeah.
And just break you down.
Oh, yeah.
And I think now it's kind of turned into that work on 3, really detailed items, that kind of thing.
That's good because when I did the 3D animation course, because I did 2 courses there, I think they were sort of almost like they were beginning to realize that students kept trying to overachieve stuff because people wanted to do what you were saying with like 50 characters and fully, particle physics all over the place, and the tutors were just like, "Yep, okay, cool," and then
okay, so they didn't really know.
No,
they
didn't really know what was going on, and then nobody ended up with exactly what they want, except for the people that had scoped it right down to something that was actually achievable.
Yeah. See, what I love about that is that these people, you're so excited to work on something like that.
Yeah,
sure.
But as the weeks roll on, you slowly realize, oh crap.
Yeah.
I can I think as a person going through that, you take on a lot if you like are one of those kind of people. But you learn so much from that experience.
Yeah.
Because it kind of puts you in check.
You get a better understanding of what you're capable of yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a very important lesson to learn.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, by the way, this is not sponsored by Media Design School.
No,
despite
it should be.
But also, like, at the time I was studying, like, it was either Media Design School or a 4-year course at Massey.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like, I'd rather go for this one, which was 1 year.
Right.
And it was just crammed full of, like,
specifically what you needed,
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the main advantage. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so since me and Severn have been there, they've upped their courses quite a lot. Like the game course that I did was a 2-year course. It's now like a 3-year master's, something like that. And I think the 3D animation course is now a 2-year something.
Not only that, man. Yeah, it should be sponsored by NBS. But like the tutors there, holy hell.
Yeah.
They've got some people that worked on like the early Halos. Mike Porter.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Legend. That guy's all about making stuff, and he's the guy overlooking all the courses. Yeah, you're in good hands.
Yeah,
I would highly recommend NBS.
And they get people in from. I mean, now we are just really. It is a welcome to the Me Design School podcast.
Oh my god!
But they also get people in from the industry. You know, a couple of our concept artists were in talks with them about actually doing like a class and stuff like that. So you get people from the industry coming in to teach the students, you know, a little bit of what the industry is really like.
The thing is, like, I don't have anything really to compare it to, anything overseas.
Sure.
All I know is, like, it put me in a really good position. So if you're in New Zealand and if you have similar, like, you're in a similar situation, then, like, what else is out there?
Yeah,
I think my brother went to Massey in Wellington, Massey University, and a lot of people doing visual communication design did their 4-year course and went into a job at Weta.
Oh, wow.
But it was similar to what you had offered at MDS. Like, it's, again, if you have really good work, people are just going to pick you up. And so I guess it boils down to that. Like, it depends on how driven you are, what your situation is.
Also, in my class at doing the games course, there was a couple of people that just got jobs halfway through the course and were like, all right, I'm done. Because they were just good enough already to get jobs.
And then
it's that kind of industry where your resume actually like speaks more than like where you went to.
Your
like
actual
if you say you worked
on
at
that.
if you worked at Grindr, EA, Rockstar, whatever, you know that speaks louder than you studied at this place.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much the same everywhere.
That's been my impression as well. I do want to say, Australia has some private colleges similar to Media Design School that are not that good.
Oh.
And Australia's game development scene is not that good at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean, they've got some good indie developers.
Oh man, they just shut down
like the last major
that's
studio
such a
in the
bummer.
country. Yeah, I know.
They should move here.
Australia has quite a lot of talent, but they have no infrastructure really, and a lot of the colleges aren't really teaching the business side of game development at all, which is a problem when your country doesn't have any game businesses. So that's
business
worth
side
keeping.
Meaning just like running.
Well, like
a
how to
company?
actually run a business. Like a game development is a business, and you have to manage a budget and employees and manage your time effectively. And if you do not know how to do those things, either you're working in your mama's basement, like totally without overheads, and you're just making your game in your spare time or whatever, or you are like you have to acquire funding, and you're just going to waste that funding. So,
acquiring funding is very tricky.
Australia has a bunch of grants, and I've seen a lot of companies who get those grants not know what to do with them.
Oh, right.
So it is just something to keep in mind, is that like there is a big difference in. It sounds like Me Design School is a pretty good place. Not all private colleges are that good, and it is worth doing your research and talking to people who have gone there, and also looking at actual developers and seeing where those people went, and maybe like talking to one of them.
I think some places have like you can go in for an internship, like overseas if you're
if
you're one of those kind of guys.
I would say that Severn and Blake are both correct, at least in my impression, that like it's the quality of the work you can show off that is more likely to get you a job than where you've studied. So if you are a fantastic 3D modeler, I would say there's no harm in currently applying for jobs and then also looking at media design school. I mean, you'll probably get some very helpful feedback just from applying.
Couple small things that I would say is have a website, number one, and two, have a sensible email.
Sensible email.
Don't have Skaterboy691024.
You don't call my email out on the podcast, man. I'm kidding.
Because it just looks unprofessional, right? If you're like, here's I'm applying for this job. Oh, you can contact me at Hot Stuff 69.
Yeah, it should be Blake Hot Stuff.
Yeah,
69.
it should be Hot Blake 69.
and also shower from time to time.
Oh yes. So our industry is an industry of, dare I say it, nerds and geeks, and
how dare you say that?
There are stereotypes about nerds and geeks that unfortunately hold true. I think we've all probably met some less than workplace friendly hygiene people.
Here's another pro tip.
Yeah.
Work on your handshake.
Really?
Yeah.
You think that's important?
A good handshake. Oh man, how many bad I remember the worst handshake I've ever had, and it was it was from a video game developer. I won't say who, but
Was it me?
no, it wasn't you.
And that video game developer is not working in the industry anymore because of that weak handshake.
Yeah. But it was someone I met at a game jam, so I don't know if they had a day job, but
So if you've
Probably
ever
not.
met Blake at
Going
a
off that handshake.
going off that handshake.
if you've ever met Blake at a game jam, start working on your handshake. Just don't even take that risk.
But
Apparently,
yeah, I mean, you know what I mean. A good handshake, right?
well, that comes down to like confidence, right?
That does.
and
You can
also
fake
just
it.
knowing how to be interpersonally.
These
Competent.
last few things we've been talking about do not matter. It's all about that risk.
It's all about that
Yeah,
handshake.
It's true. It's
Forget
true.
about it. Doesn't matter. Just throw away your 3D work.
I'd say
Get your handshake going.
you'd probably both also agree that like showing that you have a passion for whatever you're applying for,
Yeah.
through doing it in your spare time.
Yeah, no.
Like if you 3D model stuff just for fun,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
you have that, like first of all, that's going to build your skill,
Mm.
and that's also going to look really good to a potential employer. They're going to say this kid really cares about what he does, and that's so important.
Yeah.
like
yeah.
the number of applications we get from people who want to be, for example, game designers who haven't made games or who don't have any.
That's what I was saying to a mate of mine who was expressing that he thought being a game designer would be like his dream job. And I was saying like, well,
Go make a game.
go make some games or make some
Yeah.
board games or
Yeah,
something.
that's exactly right. Board games are a great way
the
to start.
reply was like, I don't want to do board games. I'm like,
That-
they're games.
My first game was a board game.
Yeah.
No one's ever seen it except for like my ex-girlfriend's parents.
It's all the same. It's all the same like mechanics, right? You're balancing stuff.
Yeah, and it's all about like making sure there's interesting mechanics,
Yeah.
and you know how to actually make an interesting beginning and ending of a game. Like it doesn't just peter out into nothing. And you can keep that excitement, like making the game a proper length. It's not like
Yeah.
5 minutes unless it's designed to be 5 minutes, and it's not 14
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And
no one wants to play a 14-hour board game.
play
That sucks.
testing and then adjusting, and it's all the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I hope that has been helpful for you, E. We might have time for one more question.